Thanks, John. Good evening. A teenager who kicked to death a former soldier has been sentenced to life imprisonment. The defendant had changed his plea to guilty at an earlier hearing, but today the judge said he was still lying about what had happened. The judge also commended the police for their work in the case.
The temperature was -5 Celsius plus wind chill when police were called to a shelter on the seafront in South Shields. It was the early hours of New Year's morning 2002. Inside was the badly battered body of 47-year-old former Welsh Guardsman Richard Jones. Newcastle Crown Court heard his blood-stained trousers had been removed. 18-year-old David Pallister of Ashley Road in South Shields had admitted murder at a previous hearing. Mr. Justice Hooper said Pallister had carried out a prolonged and extremely violent attack and that many of the kicks and stamps had been administered after the deceased was on the ground and unable to defend himself. At 29 stone, victim Richard Jones was known as a gentle giant who'd cared for his dying mother at home in Wales. He'd ended up homeless and sleeping in the shelter. The court heard how, after the murder, Pallister repeatedly listened to violent lyrics by controversial rap singer Eminem. After he was caught, he changed his story repeatedly.
The trial judge listened very carefully to some of the defence issues and decided that David Pallister was continually lying throughout. He's never told the truth, he's never shown remorse from the start.
A York man has joined with hundreds of anti-war campaigners from across the UK on a peace mission to Iraq. Philip Vine set off tonight for Baghdad, where he'll act as a so-called human shield. Peace campaigners hope they'll serve as a deterrent to British and American bombers.
Last-minute packing for a peace mission that could put his life on the line. 21-year-old Philip Vine from York should be concentrating on his university studies. Instead, he is tonight setting off to Baghdad as part of a voluntary peace delegation that plans to act as a human shield in the event of a war in Iraq.
They're less likely to want to bomb British people and Western people, so if we're close to the Iraqi people, then they're going to think twice about just sending a couple of bombs down there which might miss or might hit.
The devastation caused during the last war is something Philip and others like him say they're determined to prevent.
We really believe that we can stop this war and stop people dying, by this, and, God, it's got to be worth it if you can do that.
Peace campaigners say another war in Iraq would be catastrophic, but many believe it may be inevitable.
There have been calls today to shut down the region's development organisation, One North East. Weardale councillor John Shuttleworth led the calls for the development agency to be scrapped because he says it's done nothing to help Weardale since the collapse of the Blue Circle Cement Company. Councillor Shuttleworth says local school children have come up with better plans for Weardale than One North East. Instead of rebuilding the area, the councillor claims the development agency has been a stumbling block to potential investors.
We are getting on with things. We do have business advisors working in the Dale Centre. We do have new businesses going into the Dale. We're dealing with something like 30-odd industrial inquiries right now. We have a major inquiry, which Councillor Shuttleworth knows a lot about, which could bring 135 jobs into the area, and we are very actively pursuing that.
Around 100 travellers face eviction from their site on Teesside following allegations of assault, intimidation and vandalism. Redcar and Cleveland Council will apply for a court order to clear the site on South Bank next week. The travellers invaded the area 3 days ago, driving off families who've been living there legally.
It was on Wednesday night when this council site on South Bank was taken over. 30 caravans arrived and the 6 travelling families living there were threatened. They later left. We weren't able to film on the site for obvious reasons. Contractors working on updating the electricity and water supplies claim equipment was stolen and one of the men was attacked.
We've had incidents of violence, we've had incidents of vandalism, buildings smashed, work put back. It's inexcusable behaviour, I'm afraid, totally inexcusable.
This is the site before the invasion on the eve of renovation work. The travellers are thought to be on Teesside for the funeral of 33-year-old Patrick Lowther from Stockton in around a week's time. He was arrested in Selby at the beginning of November for drink driving, but died of pneumonia 2 months later in North Tees Hospital.
What we want to see is the police take due action under the 1998 Criminal Justice Act. They've got the powers available to them. We want to see the police exercise those powers to try and at least get the situation back to normal for the sake of those people being driven off.
The council is going to court on Monday to apply for an official eviction notice. The officials backed by police are expected to take action by Wednesday.
Engineers behind the multi-million-pound project to build a second Tyne tunnel have admitted their estimates were too low. Originally, they said the new tunnel would cost £100 million, but that's been revised up to £140 million, or over £150 million if you include administration fees. Toll charges from the existing tunnel will be used to settle the bill. A toy company run by Down syndrome sufferers has proved so successful it's having to expand to bigger premises. For 13 years, the Everson family in Borough Bridge have made toys in a shed at the bottom of their garden, selling them at fairs around the country. Business has gone so well that now they're trying to raise £300,000 for purpose-built workshops with better machines. And we wish them well with that. Well, that's it from the Tyne Tees Late team. From us, good night, and now back to John.
Hello.